Hello and welcome to the Sheppertonian. I'm Gareth and this is the local podcast bringing you stories, voices and events from in and around Shepperton. A slight change in this episode as this was a remote recording. I'm in Shepperton and my guest is in Manchester. I recorded the video and what resulted was a lovely chat. So I've decided to release it as a video on YouTube as well as the audio version. So if you're listening to this rather than watching, the YouTube link is in the show notes if you want to switch over, and vice versa. If you just want to listen, either head to thesheppertonian.uk/podcast, or you can shut your eyes if you like. Before we begin, a quick thank you to the local businesses supporting the Sheppertonian through the Business Club, business partners, the Ferry Coffee Shop, the wonderful coffee shop down by Shepperton Lock, Me On Media, flexible business support, and the Sound Boutique, thoughtful audio for every story. And business member Island Motors, providing MOT and servicing in the Shepperton and surrounding areas. Their backing makes it possible to keep sharing stories like this one. You'll find their details on the website, and if you'd like your message in front of a local audience, head to the Business Club page at thesheppertonian.uk/business-club. And one thing of interest is now you can list your business on the website, so that's worth checking out. Now, this episode is a bit different. My guest is a composer friend of mine, and you'll quickly learn the connection to Shepperton. Some of you will know that as well as running the Sheppertonian, I'm a composer for TV. And I met Keith Hopwood at a conference 10 years ago. That's incredible. Time flies so quickly. But we were chatting so much when we met that we missed the keynote. And that's because Keith Hopwood was in a band in the 1960s called Herman's Hermits, one of the biggest bands to come out of the British invasion of the US in the 60s. And back in 1967, that band came to Shepperton to film one of their movies right here on our doorstep. And since then, Keith's had an extraordinary career as a composer, working on everything from The Wind in the Willows to the BFG to Bob the Builder. So, settle in. This is Keith Hopwood. So, thank you, by the way, for doing this. This is brilliant. I mentioned to someone in our local bowls club that you'd agreed to come on, and he was very excited.
Well, really? Good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let's get going. Manchester, early days.
Yeah.
How did a schoolboy from Urmston end up in one of the biggest bands of the British invasion of the US?
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Well, I mean, I suppose, about 12, 13 when I got my first guitar, and then I started a band with a friend of mine. He was a drummer, obviously at school. And so by the time we were 15, we got a band together for 5 of us, and we'd go out and do the local, working men's clubs and pubs and all that sort of thing. Just very keen. It was just tunnel vision. That's really, at that age, that's all I wanted to ever do, So we carried on doing these gigs, but not very many. It was difficult, obviously nobody could drive, and buses are a bit awkward, so we had to hire a guy. So if we got like £4.50 or £5 for the night, like 90% of that went to the driver, and but we weren't in it for the money. After a year or so of this other local band came to see me and said, do you want to join our band? And this was Herman and the Hermits, as they were known at that time. So I said, well, I don't know. I've never seen them, So I went to see them, and it wasn't very good, and it was a very echoey hall, So it was the worst of all thing. But I got chatting to them afterwards, and they showed me how they were working, and they were working more. They were getting more money, and they got a manager. I thought, so I thought, well, we can probably fix the music with, and so I jumped ship, and that was the start of it, and then. We started, or our manager started to get us recording auditions. All you wanted then was a record deal, and so we ploughed on with that, failed every single one, and And Mickey Mouse was the final straw, you know, he was like the last thing. And he said, no, this won't do, you know. But, so at that point, I mean, we knew what the problem was. It was, you know, the bass player and the drummer, they just weren't in the same room, you know. So we changed it round. We got another couple of guys in, and we got Mickey back up to have a look at us, and all was good. So he said, right, I'll find you a song. And a month later, he came back. He said, hey, learn this. So we learnt that. Went down to Kingsway Recorders in Holborn, and, you know, a 3-hour session, A-side and B-side. Came out in August and number 1 in September. So it was that was I'm into something good. So it was all a bit off the scale, really, you know. So I mean, we're all still like 17-ish at that point, you know. So,
that must have been quite mind-blowing.
It was completely mad.
And it still happens to this day, the overnight fame, basically. And the Arctic Monkeys, famously, they were booked in a small venue, and when there was a certain single came out, they had to rebook for the Astoria in London. It's just that, and I mean, that kind of effect on someone so young must have been.
Well, you see, the first hurdle was we just wanted to get signed, because we could see all these bands getting signed to a record deal. So that's the first thing. And we never had a deal with a record company. We were only ever signed to Mickey Mouse, but that was, you know, as good as he'd just done House of the Rising Sun, you know. Okay, so we got that in the bag, and then the next thing was to make a record. After we'd made the record, the next big hurdle was just to hear it on the radio. I mean, nobody had any ambitions or, you know, thoughts of like how far up the charts were. I mean, it was just, let's hear it on the radio. And the first time we heard it on the radio, we were in a club in Bolton, and like we were so excited. It was like off the scale. So, you know, when it did start to move very quickly, it took 3 weeks, 3 jumps to get to number 1, which just, it's hard to grasp, really.
So that kind of, it is a meteoric rise, isn't it? It's like an overnight success. What was it like being part of it at the very height of it, the touring?
Yeah, I mean, we were instantly on whatever TV shows there were. I mean, obviously we'd done a couple as it was going up. We'd start to get the TV shows off, and so we've got all those. And obviously the gigs just became bigger. We got all these, whatever we were doing still to do, but the gigs got a bit bigger, and obviously just more of them. I mean, at that time, you know, promoting your music was you couldn't rely on the radio because it was quite restricted, and there was only the BBC, and you got bits of TV shows, but there's no video or anything. So it's really, you're on the road, and you're on the road all the time. And obviously when you get that kind of success, it's literally they just cram every day full of gigs. So it was very full on. And then, you know, quite quickly, within a month or so, we went over to New York for a week just to do promotion and that. And then within a couple of months, it all started over there as well. So
fantastic.
It's which we'd not even, I don't think anybody had even thought about America. You know, when we started out, it was. It's not like now where it's like, you know, the Holy Grail. I mean, it was then the Holy Grail then, but we were a bit naive to sort of to even think about it.
Yeah, it really was a wave, wasn't it? It's like once the floodgates opened. What was I going to say? Yeah, well, I was just reflecting actually what you were saying about the only way to get noticed was by being everywhere all at once and being constantly on the road. And in some ways, that's kind of come full circle, isn't it? Because
yeah, absolutely. For different reasons, yeah.
Yeah, for more financial reasons, because, you know, getting that cut of the royalties.
It's the only way to make the money now is to go back on the road, so you did right, everybody is on the road. Amazing. Right.
So, Mrs. Brown, You Got a Lovely Daughter, the song, recorded with the band almost as an afterthought, am I correct in that?
Well, it was, I mean, the origins of it were really weird. I mean, the band, they were doing it when I joined the band, so I didn't know what the hell it was. And it was actually written for a drama, a television drama, right? And it was written as the over the closing credits, and Tom Courtenay was in the drama, and he sang this song, and obviously they put it out as a single, and somebody in the band, or Peter, I don't know, somebody heard it, thought, oh, it's a novelty, we'll do that. So he used to dress up with the short pants and the satchel and the little school cap, you know, and they'd do this song. So I, you know, okay, right. So I learnt the song, and it was a banjo on the record. Well, of course, we didn't have a banjo, so I had this Gretsch Country Gentleman, which has dampers that you just wind up, so it's permanently damped, which was the closest we got, and that was the sound. So we did it on stage and that, and when we'd had the success of I'm Into Something Good, and Mickey said, right, we need to do an album like quite quickly. So we do it all, and we didn't have a massive repertoire, and in fact we'd run out of songs we could do, and he said, well, we need another one, and he said, well, we've only got this, but we can't do this, you know. So we played it for him, and he said, that's all right, we'll do that. So we did it, like, and the last sort of quarter of an hour of the session, and that was it. And this was probably a month, you know, the late '64. And then, of course, the middle of the next year, when this album had finally come out in America, by the summer, and it was a DJ in the Midwest somewhere obviously took a fancy to it and started playing it a lot. Got all these calls, and all this thing then rippled out and all over the place till the orders for it as a single, you know, were getting bigger and bigger. And we said, no, and Mickey said, no, you know. And in the end, he just caved in. He said, if it gets to this ridiculous number, okay, we'll put it out. And of course it did. So it got to a huge amount of advance orders. We put it out. It nearly went in the top 5 in Billboard, which was unheard of. It's a very slow moving chart. You know, you go up it bit by bit, and this thing came in like within the top 6, and then went to number 1. So it put you immediately. You know, I mean, America's such a big place.
It was recorded for the end credits of a TV show, but then you made the film. So was that related to the TV show, or what? How did that come about?
No, the TV show was a drama. I mean, I've never seen it, but the play and the song were written by Trevor Peacock. Trevor Peacock, if you follow The Vicar of Dibley, is the guy in it. No. That's Trevor Peacock.
No. Wow.
So at the time, he was a playwright, doing, you know, serious plays and that, and this was a serious drama and that. So he'd written that, and he'd written the song. So our first foray into movie making was in Hollywood, and it was such a fiasco. I mean, we made the film and that, but as an experience, it was a joke. So we said, look, if we've got to do another one, which we did, we knew we got a second one. So we're not doing it. We want to do it in England. And we asked Trevor Peacock to write the script, because he did. So we went out, had a few jars with him, and he came up with this story, you know. And what we were concerned about, I mean, in the first movie, we were ourselves, meaning we were a band with a hit record, you know. So we said, well, if we're going to do another one, we don't want that. We'd rather be just, you know, okay, we could be a band, but we're not super successful. We're just all scratching around, you know. And so that's what he came up with. And then, you know, Mrs. Brown was this greyhound dog, which was totally useless as a greyhound. So that's how we ended up in Shepperton for 6 weeks.
Yeah, lovely segue. Shot here at Shepperton Studios in 1968. So
1967.
1967. Oh, it came out in 68.
Very happy, yeah.
So let's talk about what you remember about being here in Shepperton, what it was like walking around this stretch of Middlesex as a young pop star making a movie. What stuck with you? I mean, we talked about the ship, didn't we? Should we start?
Yeah. Well, to start with, we stayed. I don't think we were in it very long, because we kind of upset the owner and probably a bit raucous and very late at night. So we decided it was better to get out of there. So we went to the Warren Lodge in Church Square, and that was completely different. And the guy that was looking after that was just wonderful. You know, he put up with everything, and then when it got too late, he just went to bed, and we just like wrote everything down that we did. And he was always there at 6 o'clock making us a breakfast, and we had a fantastic time there. And of course, there was quite a lot of guys in the business that lived locally. A couple of the Kinks were in and out of there, and Roger Daltrey, and a couple of boxers, can't remember the name now, but they were in there. So the nights were always fantastic. We had a lovely time. It was a very hot summer. It was like it is now. It's so I remember the weather as well. So it was the Warren Lodge. Apart from the Sunday morning with the bells, the church bells, we could have done without that. But it was a fantastic experience. Yeah.
So you were hanging out with these people just because they were also staying in the hotel?
No, they'd just come in for a drink at night, because they lived not far away.
Right. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
So what would be a typical filming day then? Would you have someone pick you up? And
yeah. They'd pick us up at probably 6 o'clock and head off, get some breakfast on the film set and whatever we're doing, parts of it. Originally they were going to shoot some of it in Manchester, but that went by the board, so we did it all either in Shepperton or in central London. There was a few bits where we were in London for the day, or train station and places around. So it's quite an experience. Stanley Holloway, lovely man, and his sort of people, Mona Washburn and Lance Percival, so all these guys from the mid-60s. It was,
So what was the filming schedule like? Was it quite an intense regimed?
Well, I don't remember as intense. It was well, you know what film is like. It's very slow. You do a bit, and then you've got to wait for hours while they set it up again, and then you do that. So no, I don't remember as intense. I think we enjoyed it. We just did as best we could. Nobody. We had an equity card, but really that was our acting abilities. That was about it, wasn't it? So,
and was it all within the studio's ground? Did you go out and film?
Yeah, we filmed a lot in London. There was, I think, there was a few bits around Shepperton somewhere, just in greenery somewhere. I seem to remember there was one bit in King's Cross Station, and another bit involving sort of fruit and veg barrows that were somewhere in London. I have no idea where, in central London. And the Greyhound track, Catford. So, because it was a Greyhound, Mrs. Brown. So, we had a couple of days there trying to get this dog. We couldn't even get the dog to follow the rabbit. It was like, we got a real duff Greyhound. We were out and about a little bit there. Yeah.
So, are there any other funny little memories from recording the film, or just about Shepperton itself?
Of course, the other thing we had to do, we had to record the music for it. So on various days, we'd be into the studio doing bits of the soundtrack for it. And in the next lot, they were shooting Oliver, the original Oliver film. So that was going on at the same time. So we'd wander over there and, sit and watch them. And of course, you've got all these 8 going on 28-year-old kids there, all very seasoned and old hands. So that was great. Did
they come out of character and they'd all be very posh, or?
No, they were wonderful. It was a great experience watching all that, because obviously it was completely different to what we were doing, with proper actors.
Fantastic. Oh, that's lovely. So any other kind of landmarks around Shepperton that you remember? Did you kind of keep to the square? Did you go down by the lock? Did you go up the high street?
I don't think we went up the high street a lot. I mean, I think because most of the days were full, so it was really just the nights. I seem to remember we did go down the road. We went to see somebody who was, can't remember the name of the little village now, but it was like the next village.
Laleham, perhaps?
No, not that. Well, Walton on Thames.
Walton on Thames, yeah.
Walton on Thames. There was somebody living down there. I don't know if it was Tom Jones. It was somebody that we had a night out with down there. But most of it, from my memory, we were just at the hotel, 'cause by the time we got back there and had something to eat, it was... so we didn't really venture, I don't think, far from there. And the days, obviously, were... The time, was pretty full. So there wasn't a lot of spare time, as it were.
Yeah, yeah. So going from touring stadiums to composing music for kids' TV.
Yeah.
And of course, we are now in that marvellous little club that we've both contributed to the Wind of the Willows.
Yeah.
Which is such a wonderful, wonderful thing. So, let's see. You didn't go straight into it. How did the second career start? What was the shift like?
Right, what happened was, while we were still in the band, Lek and I, the guitarist, there was a period where Peter got a film. He had 3 months to go and shoot a film. So obviously we're not working, and we said, right, we should do something. So we built a studio, and we didn't know what we were going to do with it, but we built a studio, and it was, and then we went back on the road, after 3 months. But we got this guy in to run it, who'd been a previous roadie of ours, but he ended up as a disc jockey. So he was quite commercially minded, so we did all that. And then by the time the band had sort of fizzled out and I was about to leave it, it got to the point of doing bits and pieces for not commercial radio, because I hadn't started then, but, commercial TV. So we did that. Lek decided it wasn't for him, so he bowed out, and I got the guy that I'd started my first band with at school, Malcolm. I rang him and I said, "What are you doing?" And he wasn't doing much. I said, "Right, come in here and do this." And I said, "You might have to write a few tunes." Well, he'd never written any tunes. He said, I said, "Don't worry, it'll be all right." And because I was going to go back on the road. So he sort of took over the day-to-day thing. And bit by bit, we were doing stuff for commercial TV and demos and things. And then we happened to meet in an edit room, I think, in Manchester. We met Mark Hall and Brian Cosgrove. And this was at the time where they were just about to leave Granada, where they were both employed, and start their own company. And that's how we got in with them. And we did the music. They did an initial series called Sally and Jake. So we did all the music for it. We did a single for it, which I sang. We did an album for it, and all this stuff, And this was an ITV series. And that was all very good. But unfortunately, they'd gone into business with a guy in Manchester who had a production company. And the business-wise, for them, it didn't work out. So they then chopped everything and started again. And that's when they started as Cosgrove Hall. Initially, they were called Stop Frame. And so they started again in Chorlton with the backing of Thames TV and, proceeded to make all these different films. So, we were quite involved with them. And then at one point, Mark Hall rang up and said, "Can you come and talk to me about this project that they were going to do?" And he said, "I want you to do the music." This was for The Wind in the Willows. There wasn't a pitch or anything. He just said, "I want you to do the music." How he got the confidence to, because the stuff we'd done at that point was absolutely nothing like The Wind in the Willows. It was all very kidsy, and so anyway, he did, and not only that, he wanted us to do the music first, not last. So that they wanted to animate to the music, as it were, So we did all these pieces of music. It was totally orchestral, which was a bit of a departure for us. And that was the start. That was the feature film that we did, and then we did like 65 episodes of afterwards, of half-hour episodes. And it was just, as you say, I was privileged to actually be involved with it, and the quality of the whole thing, the acting, the writing, was just phenomenal, to the point where with the feature film we said, this is so good, can we make an audio version of it and use everything we want from the film? So I found a guy who had heard on Radio 4 to use as a narrator, to link the bits, because obviously this was going to be like 45 minutes long, not 90 minutes long. And so we very carefully put this thing together. We used dialogue from the film, we used sound effects from the film, the music, and in between we'd have this narrator linking it all together. So we put this out as an album, a vinyl album to start with, and a cassette, and that was that. And then gradually, of course, over the years, it then became a CD. And this CD is still, I mean, I sent 2 to Australia yesterday. They just, wow. I mean, it's not hundreds of them, but it's constant, and it's lovely. And people write back and say, "Oh, this was my childhood," and so it was a very, very special gig to do. Yeah, we're very lucky.
Yeah, it's one of those brands. Some British brands don't do so well overseas. No, because it's very kind of UK centric. Yeah. But Wind of the Willows is one of those exceptions, isn't it? Where people just know it all around the world.
And it seems to be every week you pick up a newspaper somewhere and there'll be just some passing reference to something, either whether it's Toad or the Wind in the Willows or Kenneth Graham, it's sort of constantly in and out of the news, so it's very,
Yeah. So you've written for that, you've written for the BFG, amazing...
the BFG was we didn't really, we knew that was going to be a bit more of a difficult thing, so that was a bit of a pitch that we had to do. But then the interesting thing about that was we got the job, and there was one part in it where in the script it was just a blank page, and this was the whiz-popping part of the book. Because at that point they hadn't quite figured out how to address the farting issue, So Malcolm, my writing part, he was a wordsmith. He was very good with words, and he came over one day. He was living in Wales and I was in England, so he'd driven all the way over about 2 hours. Very excited. He said, I've got something. So he played me. He'd written he had to stop in a lay-by and write some of this down, and then. He got to where I was. We put it down, and we eventually made a demo. I wrote a chorus for it, and we presented them with this demo and said, "How about this for the blank page?" At that point, we thought, well, it won't work because when you're doing that sort of presenting to the writers and producers, it's usually, well, thanks, but no thanks. Anyway, much to our surprise, at the end of the day, they thought, yeah, this a 3-minute song actually addresses the whole thing. And takes the edge off all the noises,
Yeah.
So we did it, and then they said, well, if we're going to have one song, we should have another song. You can't just have one song in a movie, So we then had to write another one for the dream sequence towards the end. So it was a great gig, and we did half of it. The idea was to do the sort of giant land sequences all with very synthetic. And the guy we were working with at that point had just got this Fairlight, which was like a monster.
Yeah.
And the other bits in England were all totally orchestral, so it was a mix of the two. But yeah, great experience.
The Fairlight, of course, responsible for most of the 80s output of music.
Oh yeah, it's all treble and stuff and all that.
Yeah. Okay, you wrote a memoir in recent times, A Hermit's Tale. Yeah. What keeps you writing and creating after all these years?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's what I do. It's what I like doing. I don't have any hobbies. The music is really the work and a hobby. I've been very lucky to work on a lot of these shows that were just very enjoyable. They did Bob the Builder for 7 years. But that was just, to me, it was just like creating country music all the time. There was nothing very kidsy about the music. I think if it had been one of those shows where it had to be tinkle tinkle and and then 7 years of that would have probably been a bit of a trial. But this was just very enjoyable and a fantastic quality of the acting in it and the writing. So. I've been extremely lucky, and Pingu, that was just a joy. I don't know. It's just I enjoy doing it, and when I started doing my own stuff during the COVID thing, we did an album because we've still got a market in America for all this stuff, and my son said, "Well, this we should do it. We don't need a record company anymore. We just do it and put it out."
Yeah.
So we did that. That went quite well, and so I've just carried on doing that, sort of songs here and there for it. Did the book. Been over to America a month or so ago for an event there, convention thing, and I nearly did a gig with Peter because he still works all the time in America. But in the end, the weather didn't help us, so we'll have to do that another time. But lots going on.
Fabulous. Okay, so the final question, which may or may not be difficult. If you could tell that 21-year-old version of yourself, filming at Shepperton in 1967, anything about where the journey was going to take him, what would that be?
Well, the journey's a bit of an unknown, but I think you've got to follow your own belief and have confidence in what you do, and you've got to look out for the opportunities. I mean, my big leg up was obviously it was being in the band and establishing that. But then after that, you've got to go out and look for it. And if it's really what you want to do, then and you're any good at it, then there's nothing to stop you. But you've got to use the advantages that you got and just look for every opportunity. Really, it's and good luck. It's not easy. It's not easy, as you know.
As I know, yeah. No, but I really, I relate to that answer because you had the nous to go, right, I'm going to set up a production company, I'm going to build a studio. So a lot of people probably wouldn't have that kind of sense of forethought.
No, I mean, it was good at the time. Looking back on it, it was a very good thing to do, I mean, and we were only sort of doing it. I mean, Lek and I used to write songs on the road, so we did a lot of that. And at the time, we were recording these demos in my attic. I had a Vortexian recorder, which was massive and weighed about as much as a small Volkswagen, and it was just 1/4 inch, and you just add it and add that sort of thing. And that was part of it. We said, look, well, we've got 3 months. Why don't we find a little space, build a studio, and then we could do these not in your attic and in the studio, So that was the initial thing. But also partly just to say, well, then it's another string to the bow, the studio itself, not our songs. And it proved to work like that. I'd got no idea at that point that we'd end up, doing commercials and and of course, when it then went into the 70s and late 70s, we moved from this tiny little place in Stockport into central Manchester, a 5,000 feet facility, 2 studios, and made soundtracks to like a gazillion commercials, TV commercials. That's what got the whole thing going, as well as doing all this animation stuff. So. Yeah, it built up to quite a head of steam till late 80s when we came out here. So,
fantastic. Oh, that's brilliant. That was Keith Hopwood, from the Manchester club circuit to a #1 on both sides of the Atlantic, from filming at the legendary Shepperton Studios in the 60s to decades of composing for some of the best loved shows on television. If you want more, his memoir is called A Hermit's Tale. Well worth a read. Thanks again to the businesses supporting the Sheppertonian through the Business Club. Their support keeps this podcast rooted in the community. I'm Gareth, this has been the Sheppertonian, and until next time, I'll see you around.